Today's episode I want to talk a bit about creative ideas that you can share with your children or with yourselves if you don't have children like we don't. Some of these will be a little bit less relevant to those without children, but just to get creative. This is a fantastic time if you have time on your hands to think about those things that you want to learn, that you want to create, start new hobbies, and be able to come out of quarantine with perhaps some new habits or a new lifestyle that you want to continue in the weeks and months ahead once we're out of this thing. So top on the list, and I'm not saving the best for last, I'm putting it up front, is crafts. This one is valid for those also without children. Think of some interesting craft ideas, Google it. You can do that also just by looking at what you have in your house or what's easily accessible and coming up with interesting, neat crafts to do with those. There are some classic examples of materials that everybody has at hand, like toilet paper rolls, because everybody stocked up on those over the top, or things out in nature that you're able to collect, like pine cones or leaves, wax paper, there's coins, coloring material, paper, etc. All these things that you likely have easy access to, old clothing and material from those, that you can then turn into interesting crafts. You can sew stuffed animals or socks or something like that, just to learn how to do these type of things. Paper mache is simply just water, white glue, and some salt and some old newspaper and a balloon, and you can make interesting things out of paper mache. And it's perhaps a good time to focus on Easter, as that's coming up in a couple of weeks, and preparing something that will work, that will help ring in those holidays even when you're stuck at home. Make it nice and colorful. Next on the list is a long-term quarantine project, something that your children or yourself can work on a daily basis in order to count down the quarantine period and see the change over that time. For myself, it's growing a quarantine beard. I'd love it if anybody else wants to join me on the quarantine beard challenge. I shaved it off a week ago, left a really ugly mustache, and I'm just seeing how thick it will get over the days, weeks, who knows ahead. Just to then be able to see the beginning and the end of this quarantine, a physical change. A more productive example would perhaps be to plant some seeds, and especially with children, to understand the life cycle of planting some seeds, some peas, or this kind of thing. It's springtime in most of the northern hemisphere, so it'd be interesting to see it go from a seed to a sprout to a seedling, and maybe even a mature plant, depending how long it lasts. Going on to this, number 3 on the list would be to imagine some professions. This could start with a gardener or farmer, but to play house in terms make-believe different professions out there. So to get into it with your children and play the banker or play the grocer or the epidemiologist, doctor, that kind of thing, and be able to understand a bit more about those professions and what they're learning, and to tie it into your own lives in whatever way possible. I think this would be a lot of fun, and depending on the age of your children, could be quite useful in terms of understanding the world at large while really just playing a game. Similar to this, number 4 would be to come up with a way of instituting chores in your household while also introducing a financial dimension to them, so that your kids understand a bit better how the system of commerce works. And so to use monopoly money and set a list of chores and payments for each of these, a wage salary that your kids could earn for taking the dog out, taking out the garbage, loading the dishwasher, that type of thing. Earn 200 currency units in monopoly money, and then be able to use those currency units to purchase something else, perhaps a snack or chips, chocolate bars, whatever it is they're normally eating, but now making sure that they have to work for those. And it's something that will help you keep a bit of sanity, also perhaps keep your house a bit cleaner, and also learn the value of a dollar. Number 5 on the list is a concert or talent show. It's a great time to really dive deep and set up a little stage, have an audience with a camera set up with family members who are somewhere else, and have them practice different singing or musical talents, or perhaps a talent show, juggling, whatever it may be. I'm sure your kids have some interesting talents. I'm sure you could teach them some other things that they could teach each other, and it would hopefully keep them busy for many hours, and would be a great way to also bring the family together or friends over the internet. Next on the list would be forts. One of my favorite activities as a kid was using whatever furniture on hand, pillows, especially sheets, and make really awesome forts in the living room. Depending on the age of your children, this is something that might require some assistance by adults. But then you can take it a step further as you're in quarantine and have them even stay overnight in the fort, make a little camping trip out of it. And it would change, that normal lifestyle of going to bed and staying in the same bedroom and staying in the same living room, etc., entirely changing it from a kid's perspective, so that it's a little bit more different and interesting for them while still in the same house. Next on the list, I think I'm at number 7. Don't even know how many fingers that is. Number 7 would be baking. So getting into the kitchen and learning a bit about cooking or baking, making some kids' cookies, for instance, can be quite easy. Rice Krispie squares only take like 3-4 ingredients from what I remember. And learning a bit of baking or cooking, and then turning this into a teddy bear or princess or superhero, whatever it might be, picnic. And so to spend a number of hours preparing things and then having this fun lunch that you set out on a picnic blanket with teddy bears and whatever else it might be, perhaps putting somebody on speakerphone and enjoying it with them, be a fun way to learn a bit of a new skill in the kitchen and also occupy your kids for hours. Next on the list, number 8, would be some online activities that are also educational, like playing a game with a friend, a thinking game, memory, or chess, or depending on the age group, there's lots available, or listening to audiobooks that are read aloud by interesting speakers. These are all available online quite easily, and would be a way to also build a bit of social connection, a bit of learning, and hopefully keep your kids occupied for a bit of time where you can use that for something else, such as your own teleworking, if you're working like I am. Number 9 on the list would be a time capsule. Be a great time to prepare a family time capsule of photos of maybe an old piece of clothing that they've just grown out of, a teddy bear that they don't really play with anymore, and make a box and put it away for, who knows, a couple of years, and to look back on this period in the future when we're all far beyond it and remember what our lives were like at that point in time. And similarly, number 10 would be a journal. This also goes for the adult viewers, is that it'd be a great time to start journaling, to set aside a specific time of the day and a specific amount of time or number of pages, or even just saying a paragraph if you want to turn it down into a tiny habit, as was recommended a couple of days ago. But to start journaling and be able to reflect your thoughts and where you're headed, and it at the same time is a great way to develop some very healthy mental habits in terms of reviewing your life and looking at it from a slightly distance point of view, which is a great way to get some emotional control over where things are going in our own lives. So last on our episode today is going to take you to the kitchen to show you how to prepare a delicious cup of java. For those of you who are missing your cafes down the street because you're no longer able to access them, and for those of you not interested in watching that segment, I'm glad you came today to join us in our community to help each other live healthier, happier, and more productive lives while on quarantine. Thank you.